crazy what's going on. They're ruining our country. And it's true. They're destroying the blood of our country. That's what they're doing. They're destroying our country. They don't like it when I said that. And I never read Mein Kampf. They said, oh, Hitler said that in a much different way. No, they're coming from all over the world, people all over the world. We have no idea. They could be healthy. They could be very unhealthy. They could bring in disease that's going to catch on in our country, but they do bring in crime. But they have them coming from all over the world. And they're destroying the blood of our country. They're destroying the fabric of our country. And we're going to have to get them out. We're going to have to get mass numbers of these, especially the criminals. They're coming from jails, prisons. They're coming from mental institutions. They say, please don't say the words insane asylum. But I have to say it. They're emptying out the insane asylums from all over the world.
Make no mistake, this unabashed, proudly standing, 10 toes down, unequivocal racism comes from the President of the United States. For a far different, more inclusive perspective,
the political program that I've always followed, I said it earlier, is you always stand up for the oppressed in every instance.
Legendary guitarist Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine and Prophets of Rage shares his message that should be the starting point for everyone in the quest for a more equal and just society.
I want to ask you, what issues are at the top of your mind heading into this election?
Immigration, 100%.
And what do you want to see Donald Trump do on day one to remedy the immigration problem?
I want him to become a day one dictator and kick all the illegals out.
Lo and behold, when elected leaders make profoundly ignorant statements, it carries weight with their loyalists, including members of MAGA. This diatribe by a proud bigot would remind Morello of this story.
I was so sure that real change does not come through electoral politics when I had that job. I was always a radical and a revolutionary at heart, trying to be in a rock band, trying to buy apple juice and wheat bread was why I was working. Okay. The thing that was the most disheartening was one day this woman calls up, and I would sometimes field calls from constituents, and she was complaining that Mexicans were moving into her neighborhood. And so I don't know what she wants the senator to do about that. Perhaps some pogrom against
the Mexicans out.
And so I said, ma'am, you're racist and you can go to hell. And then she called back, and I thought that I had represented the senator well, because certainly he wouldn't. What kind of phone call is that? I got yelled at for 2 weeks by everybody up and down.
What did they say?
Like, you can't treat a constituent that way. You're representing the senator poorly. It's not your job to express opinions like that. And I thought, if in my job I can't tell a racist to go to hell, that's perhaps not the right line of work for me. Yeah.
Well, amen to that. When a citizen calls up a senator to complain about Mexican people moving into the neighborhood, Morello was authentically himself. He has remained true to it since. Hey guys, quick break in the action. I have a new show coming out called The Rick Strom Show. It is going to be awesome. I'm interviewing musicians, athletes, producers, writers, journalists, authors, sports doctors. Go check it out at youtube.com/@TheRickStromShow. Also be sure to throw me a follow on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. It can all be found in the description box below. Thank you.
I recall throughout the 80s receiving fundraising mail from the Republican Party that was basically an invitation to participate in insider trading. And it went like this. How would you like to join the California Golden Circle? You pay $2,500 to get in, $1,500 a year in dues. Now here's what you get. Advance notice of upcoming legislation, invitations to dinners and social events that will be attended by the people from California who do the business, who really make the deals. So in other words, if you pay, you're going to be invited to these dinners where you get to sit next to these people who make the big deals. And I got another letter inviting me for $2,500, I could go on this junket to Washington, D.C., where I get to attend a series of luncheons and dinners with D.C. political luminaries. And they give you a list, and you are supposed to check off on the list who you want to be seated next to at these luncheons. And then there's another box you had to check off that said, it's always possible that the president himself will come to one of these. So we need you to give us permission to run a security check on you and just authorize here. There's something weird about doing politics, mail order politics that way, and inviting people to get the edge on a business competitor by joining a certain political party, paying money. And to carry this to the most ridiculous extreme.
I want folks to remember this from another legend, the late Frank Zappa, because clearly, decades later, nothing has changed, as Morello explains.
You know, I got to see really how the sausage, I scheduled the sausage making, so I know exactly how it's made. And the job is to ask rich people for money. The end. Yeah. That's the job. And you know, he had progressive opinions about the environment and immigration, this, that, and the other. The job, we used to go, at the time when we were traveling, I would commandeer a hotel's bank of payphones. So there's like 10 payphones, and they're the senator's payphones. So I'd call a guy, rich guy in Texas, number 1, can you hold for Senator Cranston? Boom. Number 2, can you hold for, and so the phones are just dangling. There's 9 phones dangling with people waiting to be asked for money. And then when he hangs up this one, I come back around and we start the process again.
I understand and have a firm grasp how vital and important fundraising is, but to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, well, 2 horses' mouths, on the intricacies of DC and how this strategy is a mainstay is, well, beyond depressing.
President Trump has endorsed a House budget plan that would make sweeping cuts to Medicaid. Under the proposed budget bill, roughly $880 billion would be cut from Medicaid, and $230 billion would be cut from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as food stamps. The president's endorsement on social media came just hours after he said he would not touch funding for programs like Medicaid, which provides health insurance for Americans with limited income.
Let's be clear. This should disgust everybody. You're taking food off of the people's tables to benefit Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos, to name a few oligarchs. It's gross, yet folks are behind it. The same ones who have wet dreams of being a billionaire, then they wake up in a puddle of their own making.
To the crowd that just hears somebody wants free money or somebody wants stuff that they haven't earned, what do you, because you and I are totally aligned morally. I find it really difficult to watch, this incredibly wealthy, diverse, and rich country. I don't mean just rich, I mean, look at our art and look at our culture, that we haven't sort of figured out how to take care of people.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about like the handout version. I'm talking about why can't we organize our society in a way that's just a lot more kind?
Yeah. Because that's not what it's meant to be. Because it's there's an underlying profit motive that precludes that being something that.
So
could
what
happen.
would you say to people that when they hear us talk like that recoil? What is it? Are you making? I guess what I'm asking, is it a moral argument you're making? Is it a here's a better system argument? Like what argument would you pick?
I think you would start with the moral argument. Is that should it ever be okay for children to go hungry? Start with that.
As a child who went hungry many times, no.
Start with that. And if the answer is no, then start pulling that thread and see if the whole sweater unravels.
Right. Morello hardly has to explain his positioning. It is the moral position to take. It is the right position to take. It should be a position everyone gets behind. Yet the electorate, at least the majority, voted against it. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYTsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.